14th DCHC MPO Technical Committee meeting. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody stay through the winter weather, and hopefully we'll have a short meeting. The roll call, I think we see some new faces around.
Why don't we start in the back with Matt Day?
Matt Day, Central Pines Regional Council.
Joe Geigley, Federal Highway Administration.
Tracy Perry, NCDOT Division 5.
Julie Bogle, NCDOT Transportation Planning.
Tanner McCoskey, NCDOT Division 7.
All black, go Triangle.
Smart, City of Durham.
Dallas, NCDOT Division 5.
Aaron Kane, Durham City County Planning.
Josh Barrett, City of Durham Public Works.
Matty for Town of Oakborough.
Eric Vitale, City of Durham.
Elvin Beckman, Durham County.
Doug Slachinsky, DCHC MPO.
Mr. Reddy, Orange County.
Bergen Watterson, Town of Chapel Hill.
Curtis Carpingano, Durham County.
Back at Russell Robinson, Town of Florida.
One Plato, Chatham County.
CHC MPO.
Cameron Schuler, DCHC MPO.
Philip Satsi, DCHC MPO.
Tom Porter, DCHC MPO.
David Miller, DCHC MPO.
Colleen McHugh, DCHC MPO. Madeline Galliano, DCHC MPO.
King John, DCHC MPO.
Monet Moore, DCHC MPO.
And do we have anyone online?
Oh, yes.
What's that?
Oh, we have plenty. We have people online.
You can pull that list later if you want. Any adjustments to the agenda?
None that I'm aware of, sir.
No adjustments, any public comments? No public comments, only one item on the consent agenda, the approval of the November 5th minutes. Meeting
Motion to approve.
moved by Eric.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. The DCS MPO Technical Committee Officer elections. Officer.
You can pass my name, but. According to your bylaws, our officers are to be elected every year, this meeting, the first meeting of the year, so they can serve up to 2 consecutive years in their respective positions. Your current chairs have served those, chair and vice chair have served those 2 years. So at this point, we'll open up the floor for nominations.
To give an update, I think there's been some talk already about some of the nominations.
All right.
I'll make a motion for Eric Vitale to be chair and Nish Trivedi to be vice chair.
Nice second.
Can we have some other nominations?
Absolutely.
By all means.
I nominate Caroline Dwyer, who we have already discussed, even though she's not here. I'm not trying to be like that.
You don't show up to the meeting and you get nominated.
Yeah.
Because the chair was in
Vice
Orange
chair.
County, it would be vice chair.
Mhm.
So do we want to handle chair first?
Because we have one nomination for that.
Any other nominations for chair? Okay, so amend the motion to,
I'll amend the motion for Eric Vitale to be chair.
Support second.
I'll second.
And Matt second. Any opposed?
all in favor?
Okay. That's unanimous.
Congrats, Eric.
Looking forward to it.
Well, the good thing is you get to take over right now and help figure out the vice chair.
Your 2 nominations for vice chair. Any other nominations?
All right, so
So do we know Caroline is willing? Okay.
Nish, do you wish to continue to seek the vice chairmanship? Personship?
I'm at the committee of pleasure. I serve at the committee's pleasure. That's not an answer.
That's not a ringing endorsement for wanting to do it.
Yes, I'm happy to serve.
Well, I mean, Nish, you served admirably in this role. But I guess I do feel like it's good to spread the,
Well,
the chair, vice chairmanship around, training the people. So, I mean,
Yeah, second for
I
Caroline.
would second Caroline.
So first and second for Caroline. All in favor?
Aye. As
I'm
long as
the
you're
only-
not taking any offense, then yes.
Are you also voting for Caroline?
Yeah, I will vote for Caroline.
Okay, there we go.
Great.
All unanimous.
This will teach Caroline to show up.
I'm gonna text her, right?
Thank you. So chair is Eric and vice chair is Caroline.
Right, so at
Thank
this point,
you.
we installed a new chair.
Okay, so I'm gonna
So-
take over.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Is there a ceremonial, like I'll switch seats or something?
It's all yours. I'm done.
Stay in your spot.
All right, next item up is the fiscal year 2024-2033 Transportation Improvement Programs update, and that'll be presented by Philmont.
Hello, everyone. So I'll be going over several updates to TIP, but first and foremost, the action being here is the recommendation approval for amendment number 5. It last came to TC back in November. There's been no changes to the since then. We did go out for a public comment period. We did receive 1 comment back. Also on this item, so just heads up, I did send out the email last week for our call for amendments for amendment number 6, which we go in as notice for next month to be released public comment. That call is now open. We will be receiving updates up until next week for amendments. If you have any questions on the form I sent out, please see me after the meeting. One other update, just since there is an item on here, I'm going to spots, heads up, there was an update to the schedule. The draft step that was proposed for this January is now been pushed back to February. So we'll look forward to receiving that next month. At this time, are there any questions in regards to amendment number 5? Hearing none, looking for a recommendation for the board to approve this amendment.
So move, Paul Black, a triangle.
Moved by Paul,
I'll second.
second by Becca. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Next item up, the 2024 update to the program management plan for the section 5310 grant, and that'll be presented by Colleen.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk about the update to the program management plan for 5310. As you all know, last year, we updated our coordinated human services transportation plan, which resulted in us needing to update our program management plan because they referenced the old version of the plan. So that has been updated. There are some additional edits now that the MPO is no longer part of the city of Durham. Durham, however, still remains the direct recipient for these funds. So we've made some edits to the PMP to clarify the relationship between MPO and what the city's role is as the direct recipient for administering those funds. Just for your information, the MPO will still do the program of projects every 2 years, like we've been doing, and administer the selection of that. However, City of Durham will continue to be the ones who you're submitting those reports if you're a grantee for 5310. That update is included here as an attachment, and we did not receive any public comments on the draft PMP. We posted it to our social media. We posted it to our website. We posted it on Nextdoor. We sent out a press release, but did not receive any comments. So at this point, we're moving forward with the PMP as drafted that you all reviewed back in October. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, looking for a motion to recommend board adoption.
Motion.
I'll second that
By
motion.
Becca, seconded by Lindsay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much.
And with that, we are on to our informational items. The first information item is targets for safety performance measures. That'll be presented by David and Brian Murphy from NCDOT.
Good afternoon, everyone. David Miller, DCHC MPO. Brian Murphy from the NCDOT Traffic Safety Unit is joining us virtually. And the action is to receive the presentation and provide feedback on targets for the safety performance measures. I do want to mention the 3 attachments in the agenda for this item. The first is a sample endorsement letter that the MPO board could use if they choose to support the NCDOT safety targets once again. We've also included a matrix detailing options for MPO developed target setting, which was developed by our consultants working on our safety action plan tool and VHB. And then we've also included the slide deck that we'll be running through this afternoon. So as a refresher, highway safety is a transportation performance measure that the MPO must set and support targets for on an annual basis. MPOs may either choose to support their state DOT targets or develop their own. The MPO board last supported the state DOT targets in January of 2024, and MPOs are required to either support the state targets or develop their own by February 27th of this year. And we will be bringing this item back to the TC and the board in February so we can meet that deadline. So Brian will be going, yes.
Just for clarification, in order for the MPO to meet that deadline, you need DOT approval of our targets in order to create our own.
I don't think that DOT would need to agree to our targets.
You need to receive them.
Yeah,
Wait, is that correct, Joe?
They would need to what?
Receive them.
Yeah, you receive, they do not, NCDOT would not approve your targets if you chose to adopt your own.
so Brian will be running through the performance measures and the targets set by NCDOT, but we have listed them here at the top of the screen. Number of fatalities, fatality rate, number of serious injuries, serious injury rate, and then the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So there are a few ongoing and recent safety planning activities that our MPO has been working on that we would like to share. And so the first is the regional safety action plan that we're working on with our MPO members, many of whom are here in this room, as well as our consultants, Tool and GHB. We're also participating in other regional safety action plan efforts, both at Campo and Central Pines RPO. And I will note that the safety action plan that our MPO is working on will offer a framework for the MPO to develop its own safety targets, which would be available for the next target setting, so January of next year. The MPO board also adopted the MPO's first wildlife crossings plan in November. This plan proposes project recommendations that could improve roadway safety by encouraging wildlife to use culverts and underpasses to move through our transportation network rather than on our busy roads. And then lastly, MPO staff participates in the annual Vision Zero Leadership Institute that is organized by the UNC Highway Safety Research Center. And we also attend the monthly coordination meetings of Vision Zero, also attended by many of our MPO members here today, as well as jurisdictions from around the state. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to Brian Murphy so he can share his screen and advance his slides and walk us through some of the safety trends in the state in the MPO level, as well as talk about the NCDOT targets. Brian, you are a co-host, or you should be able to share your screen.
All right, trust you can see my screen now. Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you a little bit this afternoon about traffic safety data trends and performance measures. There's a lot of information in your packet that David provided earlier. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm going to keep it, pretty brief today, just in the interest of time. But in your packet, you'll see a lot of information on statewide data trends, and you'll see some of those same metrics for your specific MPO area. And I'll hit on just a couple of those today. But I want to spend most of the time talking about safety performance measures, kind of how we do those, why we do those. And then toward the end here, I'll make you aware of maybe some safety data resources that are available to you. So a couple of trends here at the MPO level. Obviously, the most important trend that we monitor from a traffic safety perspective are fatalities on our system, and you'll see that those unfortunately those numbers are rising. Certainly they were increasing, and then when we hit COVID, those numbers really increased significantly. They have been reducing or coming down a little bit in recent years, but still not where they were pre-COVID. And then you'll see also the numbers here, and they're represented in the blue graph there. You'll see the trend of fatalities within the Durham-Chapel Hill MPO region as well. And you can see that there's 30 to 60 of these events being experienced in your MPO area each year, and that's certainly a rising trend if you look at these trends over the last 10 years or so. The other trend I'll share here, just because it kind of speaks to kind of how complicated traffic safety is. So unbelted fatalities and serious injuries. This is another one that we obviously monitor, and it's one that's more than doubled in the last 10 years. So pretty steep increases here. And if you look at the state level, going from 700 or so to over 1,700 in 2021 and about 1,600 in 2023. And within your MPO boundary, you see very similar trends. So a low of 14 and a high of 55. So there's a lot that goes into traffic safety issues. I really commend the MPO for taking the initiative to go forward with a traffic or a safety action plan that David described earlier. I think it's really a key kind of first step to really bringing awareness to kind of what's going on, within your MPO locally. What are specific trends that are happening, and thinking through ways to best address those. This slide here just simply shows kind of where crashes are occurring within your MPO boundary by municipal districts. So there's a lot more engaging ways to look at this type of information, but I know sometimes just a simple chart can kind of give you a feel for where crashes are occurring at or where events are occurring at within your boundary. And I'll talk through some other ways to get at similar information here in just a bit. But I did want to spend, again, the bulk of the time talking through safety performance measures. I know David gave a good background there just a few moments ago. But these are metrics that are required by federal highways. This was first started in a federal funding legislation that started around 2016. And so it does require state DOTs and MPOs to report on the 5 safety targets that you see there on the screen. So those are the number and rate of fatalities, the number and rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So FHWA does describe how they want to see these numbers so that there's consistency throughout the states. So these targets, they're based on 5-year rolling averages of safety data. The targets are for calendar years. So the targets that you'll consider early this year will be for calendar year 2025. And as many of you know, this is a process that we go through annually. So the reporting date, so the state has to report in the end of August with our annual HSIP report, and the MPOs have to report 180 days later, so by February 27th. So how are the targets set? That's really where there's some flexibility at the state and the MPO level. So the MPO can adopt the state's methodology or come up with their own. I will say to this point, every MPO has adopted the state's methodology, but I do know that there are MPOs that will adopt their own methods and come up with their own for 2026 targets. And it sounds like you all are considering that as well. I know I've had some conversation with David, and that's something that we would encourage. I think the more localized you can make your targets to things that may be going on specific in your MPO, probably the more meaningful they are to you. And so that's something that we look forward to working with you all to help develop your own methodology with. So how do we set these metrics, these targets at the state level? Well, it links back to our strategic highway safety plan. So our strategic highway safety plan is it's really a visionary document at the state level that really sets how we'll tackle traffic safety issues at a state level. So it's not just DOT, it's not just infrastructure, although that's certainly a big part of it. It also looks at education, enforcement, EMS, all these different aspects that play a part in traffic safety issues. And this document is put together with a wide range of stakeholders. So there's certainly municipal MPO partners that are on the teams that develop these documents. And so with the creation of that document, there's always a goal that's adopted, and you see that goal on the screen now. And so that goal is to reduce all fatalities and serious injuries by half by 2035, moving towards zero by 2050. And that's obviously a very aggressive target, and that gets a lot of discussion whenever we get to this point. When we develop the strategic plans, which we do update at least every 5 years. And so there's some that kind of may argue for a more maybe realistic target based on where we are. There's some that argue that we go even more aggressive. So this goal is really kind of acknowledging where we are now, where we want to be, and acknowledging that there's a good bit of work to get us where we want to be. So based on that goal that's developed as part of the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, that allows us to set these targets. So again, our goal is to reduce fatalities by half by 2035. And so we know where we are in the baseline. In this case, that baseline year is 2019. We know where we want to be in 2035. So we can do some math really to kind of tell us if we're making steady progress, where should we be along this graph in order to get us to half by 2035. And that's the methodology that we use to set targets in each of those 5 performance metric areas that I mentioned earlier. The state is assessed on whether they meet or make significant progress towards those goals. So our last assessment was done early in 2024, and that was based on our 2022 targets. And based on that assessment, based on FHWA's review, it was determined North Carolina did not meet or make significant progress towards achieving those targets. Again, these are obviously they're very aggressive goals. The MPO is not directly assessed on that. If you were, this is what those numbers and those targets might look like. So again, would not have met targets or been better than baseline, which is essentially means that we're kind of on an increasing trend. So there's a lot of data in your packet related to safety performance measures, safety data specific to your MPO boundary. There are links in the packet also that will take you to data specific to your MPO. I just put the slide in here just to bring awareness that there's safety is a pretty data-rich environment. And so there's a lot of information there. I do encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested. Which leads nicely kind of into our next topic here, which is safety data resources. Again, in your packet, there's a lot of information, a lot of links that you can utilize to see some of the safety data that we do have on our public-facing websites. There's a lot of information out there. Again, in the interest of time, I'll just hit on a couple of these resources that may be of interest. The first one being our safety project mapping. So all SPOT projects that we've funded with safety money are located here. And these are all since 2019. With each of these projects, you can click on them and get more information about those projects, obviously the cost, what that project was intended to do, and kind of where it is. So if is that project completed? Is it funded within design? That's the type of information that you could get here. The other thing I'll mention here is our non-motorist crash dashboard. This is one that we kind of recently refreshed here in the last couple of months. But this allows you to do self-service. So you can, up at the top, you can select the years you're interested in. You can select your boundary, so MPO, RPO, division, county, or municipality. And when you do that, all the charts and graphs around the outsides will change to reflect that boundary. And you can see similar trends to what I just showed here earlier at the MPO level. And like the map we showed earlier, each of these bicycle and pedestrian, all non-motorist crashes have been geolocated back to 2007. So you can click on an individual crash and get a lot more information there as well. We do supplemental coding for for pedestrian and bicycle crashes. So you get more information than just what's included on the typical police reported crash report form. So there's a lot of information out there. Again, this is just kind of an overview of a few of the sources that are available. I think with that, David, I'll be happy to take any questions that you all may have for me or for David, of course.
Yeah, so before we open it up, I do want to mention that in the past, we have always, our action was for the board to support the state DOT targets, but with our safety action planning effort that I had mentioned, and Brian mentioned that other MPOs are looking at, there is some interest at MPOs of developing their own targets, and that's kind of what we heard at the last couple cycles when we presented these safety targets. So that's kind of why we're exploring this. But at this time, we don't have any alternative targets that the MPO has developed at this point. But you know, they do need to be supported, or we need to develop our own by February 27th. And again, we'll bring this back to the TCN board in February. But we did want to offer an opportunity to discuss this at this meeting or offline as well between now and the February meeting cycle.
If I could just add, David, thank you, and Brian, thank you for being here and presenting the data. In order for us to adopt a separate target by February 27th, that would be well in advance of the completion and adoption of our Safe Streets and All for All project. So what we would be proposing and adopting would be fairly performative. It wouldn't necessarily be based on a final analysis of data because not everything has come together yet. It's not on the same timeline. However, regardless of whether we adopt something different than the state's recommended targets this year, or go with the state's targets, I would say definitely by next year, we will have a structure in place where we can adopt potentially some MPO specific targets outside of the state's recommendation.
So whatever way we go, what doesn't matter? Like
There's no penalty either way.
like there, yeah. But we're all kind of failing at this, what the data is saying, and I don't hear any like consequences or next steps or what do we do about it? So does it matter?
Well, I mean,
And I believe the state is already taking every money into safety already
Yeah, I know
anyway, so
that,
it
yeah.
is penalized.
What would be the advantages of developing our own?
I mean, it could align more with the MPO's goals. So if the MPO decided that they want to see 0 fatalities and serious injuries, then we could set the target as 0, which I understand some other MPOs in the country do that.
Okay.
And the matrix that we included as an attachment, that's one of the options. I think it's kind of goal driven. So the target setting would be more aligned with the MPO's philosophy or goals.
Just to share experience on the BGMPO side, 0 was the target when BGMPO tried to create its own targets and its own plan. 0 was the ideal goal in the beginning of the process, but in the end, it turned out that we just want a reduction of fatalities and serious injuries.
Now, surprisingly, even though nationally the trends are continuing upwards, there are several states and several metropolitan areas across the country. And some of them you would find surprising, or at least I found surprising, places like Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, that are setting targets and meeting them. So there are probably comparable environments that we can look towards for guidance.
Arlington, yeah.
So I think that that would be a next step. Something I would like the MPO to incorporate into its project development process and our programming is that when you bring regardless of the funding source for a potential transportation project, there's a road safety audit that accompanies that project development, period. Whether it's CMAQ, whether it's safety, whether it's economic development, we pull the crash history and look at design elements that can be included as part of the project development. So that's something we can do at the MPO that's separate. But again, that would take changing our process and evolving it to do that over time.
Beneficial, yeah. Any other questions, comments?
I was gonna make a motion, we stick with the states right now and endorse the states.
Oh, this is just the informational
Oh,
item
it's
today.
informational.
They're gonna bring this back, I guess, next meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the board's probably gonna have some comment on this.
Okay.
So we have not had a chance. We were hoping at our strategic retreat last Friday that we could sort of check the weather on that, but the weather did not allow us to have a strategic retreat. That hasn't happened yet. So we'll get some better direction from them at their meeting later on this month.
All right, well, there's no more questions, comments. Thank you, David. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Our last informational item, destination 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. That will be presented by Monet.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Should I go get coffee for everyone? Can we make it through this afternoon meeting and be a little perky?
Thank you all. I am just here to provide an update on our MTP process. And so I will start sharing my slides in just a moment, but just to give an overview of where we're at, what's coming up next for this 2025 calendar year, and then kind of what we're working on in the background. So give us just a moment and we'll walk through that presentation.
Almost there.
Thank you. So as stated, we're just going to provide a brief update. This will be the same update that we'll take to our board meeting, to our board this month. So next slide, please. So here's just an overview of the update process. We are in that analysis and evaluation phase, which means we're examining existing conditions, we're forecasting future problems, and then we're developing and analyzing our alternative scenarios. So we are still in this phase here, and this phase will probably wrap up around April of 2025. However, if that changes, we will be updating this process and the calendar of events. So for our January key dates, here are a list of things that we have taking place. So our partners over at Campo will be hosting their first MTP 101. It's going to be a hybrid setting. You all are more than welcome to join. We'll be sending out an email with those links to register. There's going to be 2 sessions. That morning session will be a more general MTP 101. That afternoon session will be a deep dive into some of those alternative scenarios that are starting to be explored. I'm sorry, not the alternative scenarios. Got ahead of myself. That will be more in regards to the deficiency analysis. Registration is required. And again, we'll send out a link to you all via email so you all can register if you want to attend either in person or virtually. The second date is on the 28th is when we will have our board meeting. This is a hybrid meeting as usual. This informational update will be provided. And then most importantly, that third key date, January 29th, will be the joint board meeting between Campo and DCHC MPO. It's going to be in person here at Central Pines. We will be streaming it online using our streaming services. So if you want to tune in virtually, you can. Doors will open at 8:30. The meeting will start promptly at 9. And during this meeting will be the first time we do a complete overview of the deficiency analysis. And that's going to be led by Central Pines Regional Council. So a little bit of background of what we are doing for the MTP, just the staff in partnership with Campo, in partnership with Central Pines. So a few of those things, we are analyzing the communities with environmental justice concerns, our EJ communities or communities of concerns, just updating those to reflect the changes in the ACS data. So you may see some moving of those communities based upon where those populations are now within our MPO boundaries. We're refining community viz with support from land use planners from our members' jurisdictions. So we've been in contact just to make sure that what we're reflecting in community viz is accurate in regards to those land use designations. And then lastly, we're updating our public engagement plan and preparing engagement materials with Campo. So as we're preparing for those alternative analysis, we want to make sure that as we're getting ready to do our outreach and engagement, our community is aware of that, but also making sure that the materials we're presenting is presented in a way that members of the community that don't have the technical background can understand it and still make informed decisions. Next slide, please. So we do have one request for you all, even though this is an informational item. What we are requesting now to contribute to the development of the MTP, as we start taking a further look at our bicycle and pedestrian facilities, we're asking for a little bit of data that you all could provide. So we're looking for projects that have been completed within the last 4 years. And number two, we're looking for projects that are currently committed in local plans. We would like to have this data by April 1st of 2025, and it can be emailed to my counterpart, David Miller. Again, we will follow up with an email with this request. And then if you have any questions, you can either direct them to myself or you can direct them to David.
Committed to be completed. Committed to be completed.
Funding, yeah,
Funding, like fully funded, essentially.
yeah.
CIP.
So lastly, these are some upcoming milestones that we're looking at. So I just kind of talked a little bit about what our 2025 is going to look like. And so this takes us to July of 2025. Again, our key dates are the presentation of the efficiency analysis happening this month, presentation of proposed alternatives, and then we're going to start getting into our public engagement, which we'll see within the spring. And then we'll do more public engagement in July, looking at that preferred scenario. However, if this is to change, again, we'll come back in front of you all as the TC and provide an updated schedule.
I just wanted to clarify on the deficiencies. So we will be very briefly discussing them on the 29th. We're going to focus mainly on talking about preparation for alternatives analysis. But I think you'll get the more detailed presentation probably next month here on the deficiency technical piece.
Thank you, Matt.
What is the proposed alternatives? It says January.
Proposed alternatives.
So the proposed alternatives, those are just the alternative analysis that we're kind of working through now. We kind of did an initial one, or not initial one, but an initial set. And so those are available on that Destination 2055 website. And so we are looking at those with our performance measures and being able to edit those.
Well, and just, I think there's three, correct? What real high level, what are, if you don't have them, if not, check them out on the Destination 55 website.
Okay, and when we send out that email, I'll make sure the Destination 2055 website is there and everyone can kind of take a look with what we've already prepared.
Any more questions on this? Okay, thank you, Monet.
Thank you, everyone.
With that, we get into reports. Start with a report from MPO staff. Doug?
Great. Start out, I'd like to remind everyone that our TC strategic retreat is scheduled for a week from today on the 21st. We'll be sending out an email reminder with the time and instructions if anybody has any dietary requests for food. We'll bracket around lunch. But we'll work through that final detail and get that out to you in the next day or two.
Did you say TC retreat? Do we have a date? I don't think I've heard of that.
I don't think I've heard about TC.
Do you guys want to have a TC retreat? Okay, in general, if we have, when we have a TC retreat a week from today, can people available to make it? I thought we had reserved the date.
What time?
Huh? What time do you want? We'll calendar it now. Morning? 9? ending with lunch?
That's the only time of.
That's the only time I'm available.
Okay, then we'll start at 9.
Yeah, we have our board meeting, I'm trying to plan that thing for,
I know, and I can.
you're not moving that yet.
All right, so we'll shoot to have it. I'm sure the consultants will be happy that we'll do a half day instead of 10 hours. I'm sure you're all happy. Okay, great. Apologies, I thought we had placed that on calendars.
We all send an invite?
Yes. By tomorrow morning. Okay, the other big part of our report, which is actually going to be mostly contained in an attachment under the recent news articles and updates. The very end, there is a PowerPoint presentation and some documents about rebranding the DCHC MPO to the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization. In the documents, you'll find a brand strategy, what went into the name, some visual branding, and emphasizing that we're looking at things like interconnectivity, sustainability, how we're improving our quality of life, how we're providing justice and opportunity to our constituents, and how we're empowering us to go forward. The creative consultants that were brought on board to work through this process. I engaged a ton of stakeholders, some of them are in this room, to work through, and everything's should be very well documented. Be asking the board to to instruct us to carry forward and implement all of the things with this change that include all of our legal documents, our website, our in-house identities, at least in terms of the colorways, all of those things at the board meeting this month. Over the past few months, I've connected individually with many of the folks here and also our board members to give them an overview of the process and how the consultants arrived at the naming decision. So everybody appears to be very on board with this. It's much more inclusive than the previous DCHC. It's expandable. It's a little bit more energetic, and it defines us as a transportation planning organization. So we won't any longer have to say, well, what does a metropolitan planning organization do? So I'd like to also close with mentioning that the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization is the designated MPO for the Charlotte area. And also Winston-Salem is rebranding to be a transportation planning organization also. So we're part of the trend setting and pioneering here in North Carolina. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email or reach out. And thank you as we work through the next several months of launching this. Also, we will have a small launch event on January 27th. So I believe it's 27th, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the 27th.
Yeah.
So we'll be having that and then working through everything at the board meeting. So thank you very much for your patience as we update our name and identity. That's all I've got.
Good.
Mr. Chair.
All exciting. Okay, on to final report from the DC chair, Nish.
I'm not sure anymore.
DC lame duck chair.
Emeritus.
Emeritus. There's nothing.
I don't have any
The only
prepared
update
today.
That's Sebastian's update is no update.
I will have something prepared for next go round. On to NCDOT reports, NC Board of Transportation, Lisa Mathis.
I'm not sure they usually make it.
Division 5. Okay, no report. Division 7.
Yeah, a couple things. In addition to our report we submitted, I just want to elaborate on the I-40 lighting project. Couple progress on the new concrete pavement, and the median barrier wall on the median. Still working on large bore pipes being tunneled under I-40, I-85 interchange. They're not very visible from highway, but we're still working over there, still making progress. We do start planning, shift traffic toward the I-40 median near I-85 soon. Started removing barrier wall on the eastbound side to prepare for it, but the cold temperatures are pushing that off just a little bit. That should be coming up soon. Traffic shift. One other thing is, this is just, I guess, an ask from Division 7, is, for the LEP projects, specifically the new ones that are, coming out in STIP. We ask that the municipalities that are, responsible for those, if they could reach out to me. We're looking for schedules and other data. Whoever's responsible in that municipality, they could reach out so I can get that information and get that onto the STIP unit. That'd be much appreciated. And also even, on the existing ones, if there's changes to, schedules, if you could still reach out to me so we can get those schedules in SAP. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you. Division 8.
This is Brian. Nothing to report. Be glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Transportation Plan Division, Julie.
This is Julie. Nothing to report today.
Okay. Traffic Operations, John Grant.
Good afternoon, it's John. I have no report.
Moving right through these. Integrated Mobility Division, Reagan.
Hi, this is Reagan. Also nothing to report.
That's it for the NCDOT reports. Next meeting, February 11th. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Moved
Moved by Paul,
Second.
second by Becca. All in favor? Adjourn.
Eric, you got us through.